Okay, I think I'm getting some lovely messages from participants already, and I am ready to go. Good morning, everybody. I believe there's upwards of 139 participants. Hopefully, you're hearing me loud and clear, and I want to say thank you to Tom and Claire for inviting me along today. You all recognise organisations that have been around a lot longer than I have in terms of the Combined Authority. But I do believe that the Combined Authority, although it's only been around for upwards of almost 5 years, it was set up for a public good and for some great ambitions for the future. And I just believe it can be a very effective and passionate in helping every one of us here in Cambridgeshire to improve our lives. We are greater than the sum of its parts. The Combined Authority is big enough to make a difference and to deliver landmark projects that its constituent councils cannot take on alone. And let's be clear, that's not just the district and city and county councils that have board membership. For me, from the very start, I believe that the town and parish councils are just as important and need to be linked in closely with the Combined Authority. Now, since my election in May, on the back of the core mayoral values I was elected on, those you may have heard them, the 3 C's of compassion, cooperation and community, those values have become embedded in the sort of the DNA of the Combined Authority, and they can ensure that the work we do will be for the public good and fit for the public we serve. The themes of compassion for all, cooperation in helping deliver, and all of this for the communities we serve have been warmly and broadly welcomed. It's been a change, but it has proved how well that the public good is served by holistic improvements that can join up to form a fairer, healthier environment in which everyone can flourish. I've made no secret of my background training and how my journey has brought me here. I am a doctor, and I've actually been struck by what I see as a similarity between where I've worked for many, many years, the NHS, which is a force for equality and community, and that of the Combined Authority and indeed local government, which works for public well-being in its widest sense as a force of innovation, transformation and beneficial change. But we have to accept that is a big step from where the Combined Authority was originally set up as this idea that it's just for growth. We have to have good growth. Basically, the mission of the Combined Authority is to make life better. I'd like to think all your organisations have a similar idea. If infrastructure is weak, broken, or indeed lacking, we help to sort it out. And if an area fails to thrive, we are on hand with support. So we're not just about the hardware of this wonderful county. Building infrastructure isn't just an end, it's a beginning. It is the frame on which we hang the future. Wider opportunity for more people, more prosperity, less isolation, better connectivity. I'm going to say this, better public health. Why wouldn't we want better public health after all the experience of the last 2 years? A less car polluted environment, improved air quality, just a sense of greater well-being. And yes, there's nothing wrong with wanting more contentment and happiness for us all and our children and our children's children. You know, a sense of well-being is about more than the quality of life. It's about equality of opportunity. It's about each person in your community feeling buoyed up within a caring and sharing community and having that fair access to transport, green space and clean air, to the homes, education, training, jobs, and to also the fun stuff, the cultural and leisure opportunities that make life fun. So we want equality of life, and that means inclusivity. Nobody should be left out, nobody left behind. I mean, I know that sounds a lot like levelling up, but if that's the phrase we're going to use, so be it. So yes, infrastructure projects must be compassionate by design, planned as much around the very vulnerable and less able as they are around the strong and the fittest. We, the Combined Authority, indeed I would like to think all of us, are in the business of caring, compassion, and that means caring also for business. Businesses care as well. From the market stalls to leading edge life sciences, our businesses support the whole county. And I'm very proud to say that Combined Authority was there for them during the COVID pandemic, helping them with the grants, loans, advice, nurturing skills, and while still doing the day job of continuing to nurture an environment in which Cambridge's innovation and enterprise can fly. Let's be clear, we do need growth. We're an aging population. There are more demands always on the public purse, and the Combined Authority wants the growth. But you know what? The climate crisis dictates that it must be green, it must be clean, and it must be healthy growth that puts people and our precious environment first. And that will sustain the communities in years to come, instead of overburdening and impoverishing them. What good is growth if at the end of it all it's damaged by cataclysmic environmental flooding events? Think about that. Doubling the economy means nothing if we don't also double, or indeed increase more ambition about doubling nature. Restore those wild places, create the communities where people, you and I, can walk and cycle safely and breathe clean air. There's something about this called green justice. We've had a year, 2 years of living dangerously. COVID-19 and climate collapse have dialed up the urgency of our work for green justice. We need that better public transport, more roads that are people friendly enough for us to switch from our cars to bikes, and more inclusive digital connectivity to help Cambridgeshire businesses and residents compete in any market or work from home anywhere in the world. So within our ambition, and we have released in the last few months our sustainable growth ambition, a new look at the way that the Combined Authority work. We've got 6 key pillars as a sustainable growth ambition. So how do we ensure that we are as good as our word and deliver on that ambition? So yeah, alongside that original aim of devolution to double GVA sits a growth ambition which we have revised to ensure sustainable growth, and key measures which we will be measured by to understand the impact sits at the heart of everything we do. We can't just keep building, creating jobs without taking into consideration other effects. Moving forward, our investment programme will be measured against 6 keys to sustainable growth, all of which are anchored in that original devolution deal. They start with climate and nature, restoring the area's depleted natural capital and addressing the impact of climate change on our low-lying areas' special vulnerabilities, and building our natural capital. Natural capital includes resources such as timber, fish, water, minerals, etc., which can be used by humans to provide a return. It also includes the quality of the natural environment and several processes from which humans benefit that are described as ecosystem services. Health and skills, perhaps the area I'm most passionate about. Building our human capital to raise both productivity and the quality of life, to improve our health, our physical and mental well-being. Human capital is embodied in individuals and includes that health, that well-being, that feeling of just wanting to do good and feeling that you want to go out in the world and make a difference. That's our individual capabilities, and it includes our knowledge, our skills and experience. But we're lucky here in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. We've got innovation coming out of our ears. It ensures that this area can continue to support the most dynamic and dense knowledge economy in Europe and build on intellectual capital. That intellectual capital is a key element in an area's productivity, and we've got lots of it. It includes the level of skill across the entire workforce and local investment in research and development activities, developing innovation, ideas and new technologies. So it's great. We've got lots of opportunities. We're coming from a position of strength. But what is the thing that we should almost be shameful of? The level of inequality. This position that we're particularly Cambridge City is talked about the most unequal city in the United Kingdom. That is not good enough. So that means acknowledging that inequality is almost as a doctor is the cancer in our system. We have to challenge that. We have to invest in those communities and the social capital which complements the skills and connectivity as part of the effort to narrow the gaps in life expectancy and income between places. Let's be clear, a postcode shouldn't come with a health warning. And that is what I've seen as a doctor working in the community. Aspects of social investment, often in partnership by public service bodies to tackle social exclusion, deprivation and inequalities, can make a difference. In a public service context, this can include building up the strength of relationships within the public sector, third or voluntary sector organisations to better tackle the issue. That is why I was so delighted to be here with you, because by the connectivity I wanted to show that the combined authority acknowledges the importance of parish councils, town councils. Hopefully you will see we can have a symbiotic relationship where you feel linked in with what the combined authority is dedicated in its mission to do. So you can come along, and one of the other pillars is around the infrastructure. From the digital and public transport connectivity to water and energy, building out the networks needed to support a successful future and building our manufactured capital. You can be as much a part of that on the ambition, on the kind of road, this route map we have in the combined authority. I want you by our side. The manufactured capital is seen as a human created physical asset. In a public service context, this includes the areas of the physical public realm asset, things that you take an interest in, and the people that you serve take an interest in, the quality of the roads, the rail, the cycle paths, what also is about the hospitals and other public infrastructure. The finance and systems about improving the institutional capital, well, that's at a maybe slightly higher level, but that is what's going to support the decision making and delivery. But those finance systems, they have to have the understanding that institutional capital is understood as a pool of funds available to an organisation, and it broadly focuses on introducing efficiencies into the public service system, but it does it through a joint action funding public service reform, but always with those values of 3 C's. What does it deliver? Compassion. Are we listening? Are we cooperating? Are we making the most of all our connectivity and what it is that the community wants and what we should be delivering for the best of them? I still class myself as that new mayor. I've taken a fresh look at our priorities alongside the leaders on the board, and this year, 2022, moving away, hopefully, finally, from the spectre of COVID, we're now hoping to demonstrate with all partners, including yourselves, how we plan to help our great region grow well and unlock the potential that is healthy, remember, healthy and can endure. After all, I've said it in public meetings, there's far more to prosperity than money. I believe our policies rooted in those 3 C's, compassion, delivered through partnership and cooperation, will result in healthier, happier outcomes for the whole community now and in the future. And I am very pleased to deliver that message, and I pledge I will continue to work with all of you going forward. Thank you.
Hello everybody, thank you for bearing with us. My name's Elaine Matthews, I'm the Think Communities Area Manager for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So I think, have we lost Nick Johnson now from this screen? We did have programmed in some Q&As with Nick, and I can see in the chat a couple of people have put information in. Hi Nick, nice to see you back.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I'm
bearing with us. We're having a few technical issues this morning, everybody. This is a new platform for us and we're doing our best. So we really thank you for your patience. And can I just say, Nick, thank you very much for taking part this morning. It's really great of you to
honour, absolute honour.
We did say there was going to be a bit of a Q&A session now for people with you, and we've asked in advance for questions and not actually received anything particularly relevant. Well, not actually received anything for you, but in the chat I can see that we've got a question from Kirsten Rayner for you, and the question is, would you like to support a Bedford to Cambridge cycle link proposed from Sandy to Potham Gamlingay to Gransden and Camborne? There's a meeting with MP Richard Fuller Central Beds next month to move this forward.
Well, first of all, I'd have to have a declaration of interest. That actually includes my village, so where I'm actually speaking from. So as an advocate for active travel lifestyles, I would love to see enhanced rural connectivity through cycle lanes across the whole of the area. And if there are proposals, I mean, I have reached out since I've been the mayor with representatives from councils out with Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, an absolute very important at a bigger level to talk about links with Bedfordshire, Suffolk, particularly. So if there is something in the pipeline, if it's something that's coming forward, I'd be more than happy to know more about it. And you know, what's been proposed alongside, obviously, constituent council would be South Cambs, and going into Gransden, and also includes Huntingdonshire. But there are proposals on the table for active travel lifestyles. Would support it anywhere. That's what I want to see, much more so than anything else. You know, when we were all locked down through COVID, what we all craved, if we weren't doing, you know, our various roles working, is we wanted to get out of our homes. We wanted to embrace the wonderful countryside around us, and we needed those public spaces, and we needed to exercise. And as a medic, first and foremost, I would be encouraging that all the time. So yes, yes, yes.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure if you can see the chat there, Mayor, but we've got a couple of other questions that have come forward. One from someone saying they sent a question in advance, and apologies if we haven't received that, and regarding drug abuse. So drug abuse, the elephant in the room in this village and others. And then we've seen another couple of questions there. But so the second question is on local transport from Alan Mines. The Ting bus is a fantastic improvement to rural areas west of the A1, but are there ideas to expand? So I don't know if you want to pick up those 2 points.
Well, I'll go to the one that I think I can give most clear on from within the Combined Authority. Let's be clear. I mean, only yesterday I was speaking to members of the Department of Transport, and I was also talking to the bus operator that currently provides our 4-bus demand responsive transport Ting app. It has been an absolutely amazing take up from the community that is within the area of West Huntingdonshire, and has released opportunities, particularly for youngsters and actually across the board, for people to use their phone like an Uber and make very competitively priced journeys to support their market towns, to make those connections. So for both, and it's absolutely something that I am wedded to try and take out that model further. We call it the Ting. It's linked because it started off in Huntingdon. I've always talked about, and when I campaigned, about the ambition of and it wasn't meant to be a gimmick. I really meant it when I said a Fen Tiger network, where these small, very mobile, adaptable creatures, little demand responsive buses. Okay, we might not get them in orange and black stripes, but ideally that they kind of run around rural areas, particularly bringing them into sort of linking up with good quality, very frequent, almost corridors of bus networks. In that case, for the Ting app, it would be saying St Neots to Camborne, Camborne on to Cambridge. But I would love to see that linkability going through Ely area, linking up with March, Chatteris, and particularly area of isolation like Wisbech. But do that in a combining also with the improvements around the links around the rail network, and let's not forget some really innovative stuff like electric cycles and electric scooters, which have just as much reason to be in places like March and Chatteris, or indeed Peterborough, as they do in Cambridge. So yes, expansion is planned. As it's a trial, we will be led by the numbers, but the initial numbers are very promising. Oh, and you wanted to talk about drug abuse? Is that something?
There was one question. It isn't a full question because it was sent in advance, but I apologise. I can't pronounce your name properly. I'm going to do you an injustice. But it's from Aluned dos Santos, and a question in advance regarding drug abuse, the elephant in the room in this village and others.
I mean, that's such an open question. I think it's trying to understand the narrative of the question. Look, drug abuse is incredibly damaging, and it can, of course, it can happen in a village environment as much as it can in our bigger market towns or indeed our cities. I'm sure Darryl probably would have more understanding from the kind of how we try and, the legal applications and how the police work within those roles to kind of stop. It is fundamentally, it is illegal. Having said that, I've maybe been on the other side through my professional career. For instance, dealing with babies who are born addicted to heroin, that's a knock-on effect. So I think it would be very churlish and foolish. I think there is a role for all public health and for all public bodies to be looking at that. How do we link to improve public health? And in that case, in terms of the challenge of drug abuse within any community, because the knock-on effects for those who are, because they have a health problem. They are addicted to a substance. And that means that they're no longer as productive as they could be in terms of their educational opportunities, their employment opportunities. And it has also social issues around the child and care for children. And it's just something I would acknowledge and I would always suggest. But the approach would always have to be multi-agency and a willingness to join up. And that goes back to the second C, cooperation, be it with the Police and Crime Commissioner, be it with County Council, be it with public health colleagues.
Thank you. That's really helpful. We've got another topic now, and this has come from Councillor Steve Hodgson. And the question is, there is a cycleway between Huntingdon to Cambridge unbroken, except for a section between Hertford and Houghton, where cyclists and pedestrians have to cross the main road twice. Could the combined authority press and empower the completion of the existing connective routes as well as champion new ones?
Well, we're certainly championing new ones. The way it works, as I'm learning in the roads, is that the mayor may well have, how could you say, I could be seen to have favourite schemes, but I am a mayor for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and the board making decision about where funds go around proposals that are brought to the table. So we have recently encouraged every single constituent member, and in that case that would be Huntingdonshire, or indeed East Camden District or Fenland, or indeed City Council, to put forward schemes which would be covered for investment. There can be issues of match funding. So everything's potentially on the table. It's just kind of which district council champions what they see as the most important, because fundamentally and ultimately there is a limited budget. We can make decisions about where we prioritize, and I'll say this now, I believe as a decision-making body, the Combined Authority Board should be focusing on active travel proposals more so than other proposals that maybe have come forward. But there is a limit, and what you would need to do. Now, I'm the one you've particularly described. I'm not aware that's been put forward for this year, but if it's something that you really, really want to support, it has to come via the route of your local district council. Champion through parishes and towns, and then make sure that is the priority for the Huntingdon District Council ask. And it's just got as much right to get the funding as it would do as the development of greenways in the south or new suggestion of cycle lanes in Peterborough.
Great, thank you. A positive comment now from Christine Prowell of Living Sport, who says, fabulous to hear Nick advocating for active lifestyles and the positive benefits of exercise on well-being. So that's a really nice comment there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Picking up another comment from Councillor Hilary Cox-Condren, who says, bring back the music bus that used to pick up around the villages to go to gigs in Wisbech and March in the 60s. So that's a great comment. Thank you.
But you know what? There could be something about that. There is ways that we can work with demand response transport. If we're willing to link up with a cultural ask, with a kind of local Fenland District Council, who's to say? I would never, ever rule that out. What we need to do is to be able to explain that brings huge benefits across the board. And something can be done. if people believe in it and communities want it, and if we care and we work together, cooperate, we can deliver for communities. It's certainly an unusual request, but never say never.
Thank you. And one last one now, which moves us into employment. This is from Joanne Webber, who says, I'm the councillor for Littleport. We have a very poor bus service, many low-income families, and local employment is limited. New cycleways are great for leisure purposes, but not great for employment. How can the Combined Authority help us to improve local employment opportunities?
Oh, that's the $1 million question, really, because if you improve employment opportunities, then that enhances people's living wage, and then they can bring in more money, and that in itself often gives more life chances. The irony is, or that we're being told at the moment, that we're rather surprisingly moving to almost a stage of full employment, particularly in the local area. Now, there may be people who are not in employment for other reasons because they have not had skills developed, and we do have skills shortages. So there is certain things within the Combined Authority's adult education budget, which is not just about sort of 16 to 25. It's about people making changes to their life at any point who might want to retrain, and we need to make sure that we put investment into training in the very areas where the local companies who want to live and work around here and develop around here. And there are plenty of examples of new companies coming in around Littleport, Ely area, and I'm told about that by the East Camden District Council all the time. But even if we did all that and we improved the people and people were more skilled up, we still have to take, as a Combined Authority, the responsibility for the connectivity and affordable, frequent, and accessible transport. And that's going back. And I'm unashamed about it. It may sound, when it talks about the bus being old-fashioned, the bus, the omnibus, the mode of transport for everyone has come a long way since you think about these big red double-decker bus that tromps around city centre. We have very customer-facing, customer-friendly, adaptable, quick, and with the benefit of Wi-Fi on them, buses nowadays. They're not cheap, and they also have to be environmentally friendly, ideally in the long term with electrical charging. But if we can bring those on and we get people to say, actually, why spend thousands of pounds having a car, or say 2-car household, have one car in the household, but have only, rather than having a second car which sits on the drive or sits outside the place of work, having the right ability. Maybe you're not going to work as much because you work from home a bit more. But on those 3 days that you go into the office, you feel reassured that the local public transport reliability, frequency is one which actually delivers for you, be it in Littleport. And that's the ambition we look for. Then we not have as many cars. We have people using public transport, and it's cheaper for you. And that would be the ambition I'm talking about. I am not anti-car. I'm just pro-public transport to make the ask of public transport the kind of default. And it doesn't matter if you're Lord or Pauper. It doesn't matter if you're consultant paediatrician or if it matters if you're local councillor. Get on the bus because the bus is coming. That's kind of what I want to say.
Thank you. So that brings me around to saying thank you so much, Mayor, for your time today, for taking part and being so open to these open Q&As. We haven't got time for any more right now, but I know you're coming back to join us for the big panel discussion at 12:35, and we really look forward to seeing you then.
Well, I'm going to stay on. I'm going to stay on. I'm going to listen to Darryl and catch up.
Fantastic.
It's going to be on. I'm here for the day. So that's
perfect. Thank you.